and Scottish businesses, particularly Scottish salmon, which is the #1 export passing through Heathrow, worth £970 million over the last 5 years. I'll obviously happily make sure that she gets a meeting with the relevant minister.
Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I can assure the honourable member for Rugby that Reform want healthcare to be free at the point of delivery. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. There appears to be some panic on that side of the House. I'm not surprised. To ask the Prime Minister, I'd like some advice, please. What do I say? Oh, they really are panicking, aren't they?
Order. I want to get this question over with. All you're doing is ensuring it goes on forever. Quick question.
To ask the Prime Minister for some advice, what do I say to 25,000 constituents in Clacton, including...
Either get on... No, you've got it. No, we're not both standing at the centre. Look, I need a quick question, then I can get you the answer. Come on.
What do I say, Prime Minister, to 25,000 constituents in Clacton, including 99-year-old Jim O'Dwyer, who flew a full set of missions on Lancaster bombers as tail end Charlie, as they're losing their winter fuel allowance, feeling the pinch, whilst at the same time we're prepared to give away a military base and pay £18 billion for the privilege of doing so.
Mr. Speaker, he talks of panic. The only panic is people using the NHS who know that under his policy he wants to charge them for using the NHS. And what he should say to the people of Clacton when he finally finds Clacton is that they should vote Labour because we're stabilising the economy and boosting the Dems.
Mr. Speaker, Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many of my constituents in Folkestone and Hythe are expressing their frustration at the previous Tory government net migration figures, which quadrupled, increasing by nearly 1 million. But unbelievably, the Shadow Foreign Secretary has admitted that her party is proud of their open borders experiment on Britain. So will the Prime Minister explain what he is doing to bring these numbers back under control?
Well, I'm grateful to him for raising this because we know that the Leader of the Opposition personally lobbied to remove annual limits on student and work visas. The Shadow Foreign Secretary still thinks they got a great record on immigration, forgetting that they quadrupled immigration, reaching almost 1 million a year. Our Borders Bill will give stronger powers than ever to tackle people smugglers. We've already removed 16,000 people with no right to be here. The question for the opposition is, will they walk into the lobby with us next week to secure our borders?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After she was kidnapped and shot, Emily Damari was held in captivity by Hamas in UNRWA facilities, confirming many of our fears that UNRWA is riddled with Hamas sympathisers. So, the British people do not want our aid being stolen by Hamas. So will the Prime Minister agree with me that we should stop funding Hamas, follow the example of other nations and divert our aid to other, more trustworthy agencies?
Prime Minister.
On the question of Emily Damari, I've spoken with Mandy on many occasions, including when she didn't know whether her daughter was alive or not. And just listening to her was to really understand the torture that she went through. I spoke just the other day to Emily herself about the conditions in which she was held, and of course will continue to do so. But to be absolutely clear, and he knows this, we're not funding Hamas. Never will we condemn Hamas, and everybody in this House should condemn Hamas.
Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 54,000 women a year lose their jobs when they are pregnant or on maternity leave. 1 in 10 HR managers say they would be reluctant to hire a woman whom they thought was might start a family. Law has not solved this. Will the Prime Minister please meet with me, Dad Shift and Pregnant Then Screwed to discuss the ring-fence paid paternity leave that is needed to bring about change?
Prime Minister.
She raised a very important issue in relation to maternity pay and maternity leave. The Leader of the Opposition thinks that maternity pay is excessive, and that's the difference. We know that workers' rights are pro-growth, and I'm proud that our Employment Rights Bill will introduce parental leave from day one, which means 1.5 million more employees will be entitled to unpaid parental leave and 30,000 more fathers to paternity leave. I'm happy to ensure that she gets the meeting with the relevant minister.
Gagan Mahindra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that, like everyone in the House, the Prime Minister is an honourable member. On that basis, can he repeat his assurances that all rules were followed while the country was in Tier 4 lockdown in December 2020, not just by him, but as his team as well, but also his voice coach, Leona Mellinger?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in December 2020, I was in my office working on the expected Brexit deal. With my team, we had to analyse the deal as it came in at speed, prepare and deliver a live statement at speed on one of the most important issues for our country in recent years. That's what I was doing. What were they doing? Suitcases of booze into Downing Street, partying and fighting, vomiting up the walls, leaving the cleaners to remove red wine stains. That's the difference. I was working, they were partying.
Louise Hay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the whole House will support the Prime Minister's comments and send our thoughts to the family and all those who loved Harvey Wilbus after his tragic and senseless death on Monday. I support the government's actions to tackle the sale of certain knives online. But before national media attention moves on from yet another tragic death of a young person, I know the Prime Minister will agree with me that in order to tackle the scale of the crisis engulfing too many of our communities, we need a whole system, cross-government approach to tackle the root causes of violence. Will he commit his government to tackling such a national strategy?
Prime Minister.
This incident was horrific and senseless, and I thank her for raising it. I think the thoughts of the whole House are with the victims' family, friends, and the school community and the wider community who've been impacted by this. We're all grateful to the first responders, the police officers and the medical staff who attended the scene, and it's right that South Yorkshire Police are given the time and space to carry out their investigation. We do need to do everything we can to bear down on knife crime. It is too easy to get knives online. It's too easy to carry knives without proper consequences. And that's why we've made it an absolute priority in government. And I hope it's a cross-party issue to absolutely bear down on knife crime.
James McCreary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the Prime Minister will share my deep concern that families in my constituency of Lewis, particularly those with disabled children, face agonising waits for essential adaptations to council housing. In my inbox, I have cases where delays have left people unable to use a bathroom or even access a kitchen to simply make a cup of tea. Will the Prime Minister meet with me to discuss how we can ensure councils have the funding they need urgently to build and retrofit homes to ensure that all children have the start in life they deserve?
Minister.
Look, can I thank him for raising this really important issue for his constituents and actually so many constituents. I'm pleased to confirm that we've put down £69 billion for councils. That's a 6.8% cash terms increase, including up to £3.7 billion in vital additional funding for social care. We've doubled the funding for the Disabled Facilities Grant, an additional £86 million, to allow 7,800 more disabled and elderly people to make improvements that enable more independent lives, and will continue to do so, working across the House.
Grant Snell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 83 proud pottery workers woke up on Monday morning with no job following the collapse of the 200-year-old Royal Stafford pottery firm. It is a crisis in our ceramics industry. Escalating prices for energy and fake and foreign imports is causing a real problem. So could I ask